All right, so next steps, after getting that super elevated curve in last week, I want to paint all this track. So I've started masking off the backdrop, and I've started masking off the already painted track. So you may remember, now that I've got all this in there, that was, I probably should have shown this before, but I dropped this extra turnout, I dropped a new turnout in here to get one more spur on the rip track area over here. So I want to paint that turnout, but all the track around it's already painted and weathered up nice. So I don't want to get paint all over that stuff. So I've masked off the area around it, and I will get that turnout painted. I'll come in with a little tiny pieces of tape and cover up the points there. Make sure those don't stick. I've also got the icing track in the front here to do. That turnout got dropped in amongst already painted and weathered track. So I'll get those things done. And then I'm gonna just, once I get to the end of that turnout and this track through here done, once I'm over here, I don't have to worry about getting to the track I've already painted. And I'll just block the backdrop and go straight through that. So that's the plan. I'm gonna start over here on the areas that are already surrounded by painted and weathered track, get those to match, and then I will turn my attention to the newer track. More to come. All right, one of the new turnouts I dropped in, y'all might remember when I was test running a few cars, had a little, if I zoom in on it, you can kind of see it, where the rails didn't quite line up the way I wanted them to. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna solder that. And what I'm gonna do, I don't know if I'll be able to show this very well, but I'm just gonna use some tweezers and lift up on the side that's lower. And either I'll do that or push down on the other side. Hold it like that and then run a little solder on there just to smooth that little bump out. I don't want it to be causing issues down the road. And since I'm on the point where I want to paint this, I want to go ahead and get that solder on there so that I can paint it and make it disappear. All right, that's much better. I ended up just pushing the turnout on the left down a little bit while the solder went in there. And I'm zooming way in so that looks really bad. The joint's actually on the other side. And I couldn't even see what I was doing, but since it's on the back side of the track, as I come around, I'm not really gonna worry about how it looks from over there. What I am concerned with is how smooth it is going across, and that's a lot better than it was. Still a little tiny gap in the rail closest to us, but that is what it is. So that was worth doing. Now we'll get this all painted up. All right, so I've got the tracks painted and I've been cleaning off the tops of the rails. And that one in particular is a good one to show here because you can see just with the base brown that hasn't been toned down yet, haven't put any rust color on the rails or anything like that yet. That's just the base brown with the rail heads cleaned. You just kind of see how that looks. I'll add some, sort of gray tones and stuff to the ties as well. And that'll kind of make it a little bit more uniform. But that is what it looks like just with the one coat. And as I pan this way, same thing here. You can see exactly where that was done. This is just fresh brown paint, the icing track here in the foreground as well. And then the main and the yard lead as they come out of the yard here. All painted up, and I've been scrubbing them with a Bright Boy to get the paint off the tops of the rails, and I'm about over here with that. And what I should have done is do it much closer to when I put the paint on. So it's now Sunday, I painted all this stuff yesterday, and then I had some plans out yesterday evening, so I had sprayed it, let it dry, and it kind of cured overnight. Normally I'd like to come in here a little quicker than that, maybe 30 minutes later, when it's dry, but not fully cured. It comes off a little easier, but I don't have too much further to go. This is all just the painted over here, but not yet scraped. There's a little section of track I recycled here that was already painted, and then back to the end of the yard lead, at least as I have it so far. I did cover the end with masking tape, just so it's easier to solder, more track onto the end of that, or at least make a clean electrical contact before I paint it. As it continues on to the left there. So that's where we are. I'm gonna keep scrubbing here and I'll come back. All right, got all the track clean. Again, that's just that flat brown cheap rattle can primer. But if I may, on the left, I've intentionally left the end of this track unpainted so that it's easy to connect the next section of track to it. But this illustrates just what a difference even just a brown base coat makes to the realism of your track. I mean, that took 10 minutes to mask, 5 minutes to spray, and maybe 30 to clean off all the track I just laid over the past couple weeks. And I just think it makes such a difference in the realism of the track. You know, that versus that. So paint your track, not that hard. And it really does, bring it out. The track is part of the model too, y'all. So let me get off my soapbox and we'll keep plugging away. All right, so I've got a little bit of an in progress here. And what I'm doing, and again, I've shown this before, but I'm using this Monroe Models Real Rust. It's like a alcohol-based wash that I believe has, real rust pigment in it. And I'm just brushing the sides of the rails, intentionally getting it onto the tie plates a little bit. And I've done it, sort of through here. My son was helping me out here. I'll just touch that up. And you can see, actually, let me show right here. So you can see the difference between the one that's been toned down a bit and this one. It kind of looks like clown makeup at first, but I'm gonna come back in with some powders and probably the airbrush and kind of tone things down a bit and tie things together. But that's just sort of an in progress what it looks like. So as I pan to the left, I've done all of this area. That was painted from before, so that's the finished product. This is in progress. Here comes the main, and I've gotten to right there. So you can kind of see how it looks without the rust versus with. And again, I'll come in and tie a lot of this together and tone it kind of way down. It'll look like the turnout on the left versus the one on the right when I'm done. So more to come, just a quick in progress. A little bit tedious, but the track is a model. So take your time with it. All right, just a quick in progress here. I had the airbrush out. Got a new one of those actually, and I was coming around and hitting a few ties, different colors and toning things down, using some really diluted buff and flat earth. Flat earth, the color, not the crazy people. And that's kind of what I was doing, is just lightening up some of the ties and giving it some variety and kind of tying things in. There's just a look down the icing track. Some are lighter than others and intentionally not very uniform. I also took a brown, a very light mist of brown up against the edge of the rails to kind of tone down some of that really heavy rust. A couple places where it's still showing through. But I think the next step will start to blend things together really well, and that is to use some of the Bragdon Enterprises Soot weathering powder. So that's my next step. All right. With the application of some soot powder on the track on the right, you can no longer see where that recycled piece really begins and ends. It just blends in now. And I intentionally did not put the soot and stuff on the main. Left that more of the fresh browns from the fresher ties and more of a newer looking rust versus what's on the passing siding slash, not really passing siding, but the yard lead there. So I'm just gonna pan over here real quick. You can kind of see we brought that all the way around and tied into the new turnout here and just blended it right into what we already had. So that's how it's looking. I like how that came out, and I think my next steps here, and I don't think I'm able to do it this week. I'm getting ready to travel for work for the first time in a little while. But I need to get some clear coat down and seal all this stuff in, and then it will be on to ballast. So with that, I'll leave it here. The track and ties are now painted, all the new stuff we added, and we'll keep working to bring this whole scene together. Thanks for watching, y'all. Be well and safe.